All right, folks, so I use a flashlight almost every day, whether I'm working on different projects with my cameras in different locations or just other hands-on work, even around the house. I often find myself needing a little extra light in the dark. Well, typically that was just a cheap 400 to 500 lumen flashlight for my EDC or everyday carry. But folks, technology is coming to everything, even your everyday flashlight. And the folks over at Olight have created their second edition of the Arkfeld. This is the Arkfeld Ultra. And today we're going to take a look at it. We're going to look at all of its specifications and features, durability, etc. And we're going to ask the question, is this the last EDC flashlight you'll ever need? Before we get started, you know what to do. Hit the like button, subscribe, and click the bell so you don't miss as we cover all things tech. I'm Chris Grant Jr. It's the Grant and Geek Show. First off, let's talk about the unboxing experience. I feel like Olight has mastered that perfect sweet spot of not doing too much with the packaging, but it not feeling cheap at all. It's a nice experience. And in the box, of course, you get your manuals and safety information. You get the Arkfeld Ultra itself. You get a proprietary magnetic charging cable. We'll talk a little bit about that later in the video. And then you also get this awesome challenge coin, which is made of the same special proprietary aluminum that the Arkfeld Ultra itself is made of. We'll talk more about that later. But first up, I gotta say this. I've been using this for almost a week now as of the recording of this video. And one thing, before we talk about the way it looks or its features or anything, the durability on this thing is impressive. And I'm not just talking structurally, that it hasn't gotten bent or crushed or anything like that. I haven't babied this at all, and it still looks brand new. This nice kind of green, natural color has not chipped off at all. So it has effectively shown no wear whatsoever, which is very exciting for me. I've used this in various conditions: hot, cold, dusty, a clean studio environment like this, and I have not babied it whatsoever, and it still looks brand new. Okay, but besides the durability, this thing has a lot to say, starting with its stunning design. Typical flashlights are cylindrical, but this uses a nice flat design, which is much more comfortable in your pocket, and it feels more like something akin to a smartphone. And they're able to pack a good sized battery in this as well. I have charged this once, and it was the day that I got it. I charged it to full. It was able to charge in about an hour or so, and I have not charged it since. It is currently on 3 out of 4 batteries still, and I have been using this thing heavily, and I'm talking about turbo mode, which goes up to 1400 lumens. We'll talk more about that a little bit later, but the design of this thing is really stunning. Every time you pull this out, it's gonna draw eyeballs. It feels super high quality and super solid in the hand, and of course, all that build quality is gonna come with a little weight, which we'll talk about a little bit later, but I gotta give it a 10 out of 10 in terms of just the look. It looks modern, but it looks natural. It's not crazy or anything like that. So you might have already seen the second bulb on here, and you might be wondering, well, it's clearly not just a flashlight. What else does it do? We'll get there. Let's start with the flashlight specs though. It goes up to 1400 lumens in turbo mode, which is plenty bright. I was in an extremely pitch black large attic of a building, and I was able to light pretty much the whole thing. There are 5 brightness modes offering varying lumen levels for various needs and scenarios. Let's start with number 1, which is moonlight mode, and you get there by holding down the flashlight button while it's on flashlight mode, and this gets you just 1 lumen. Now, I've found this super useful when it's late at night, you got all the lights off in the house, you don't want to wake anybody up, but you do need to see where you're going. So moonlight mode is fantastic for any scenario like that. Now, you hold down on the button again to go up to low mode, and that gives you 15 lumens. Still not very bright, but maybe, you know, you want to see a little bit further, or you don't want to strain your eyes while reading something, but it's still very dark. Maybe you're still in the house or something like that with all the lights off. You hold that down, and now we get to medium mode, which is going to be 60 lumens. This is okay. This is like a typical cheap flashlight level of brightness. It will do a decent job in dark scenarios. Not a whole lot of detail, and this definitely struggles in pitch blackness to illuminate everything for you. This has a floodlight. There's no solid spotlight. So you simply hold down again and we get up to 650 lumens for high mode. And this is typically where I would look for my everyday carry flashlight to be. It's plenty bright so that in almost any dark scenario, you're gonna be able to see pretty well. And even if you have somebody with you who can't see or doesn't have a flashlight on them, you're gonna be able to light the way for you and a buddy, a couple of people, no problem. And I gotta say, about 95% of the time, 650 is where I'm leaving it at. Now, the cool thing is when you simply just tap the flashlight button, like to turn it off, it will remember which mode you were in, whether that's moonlight or low. It will remember that setting so that the next time you simply hit the flashlight button, it'll pick up right at that brightness setting, so you don't have to press and hold through every lumen level until you get where you want to go. Now, of course, let's talk about the brightest feature, and that is turbo mode. So it's obviously going to be the most draining for the battery, but it is 1400 lumens, so they don't want you accidentally turning this on, and so you can't access it just by pressing and holding as you would cycle through the other modes. You actually have to triple click the button in order to get that 1400 lumens. That pretty much brightens up an entire room. So you can even see it here on the camera. I'm just holding it and the light bloom is almost covering my hand. So it's plenty bright. This is gonna cover all your needs. Now, speaking of brightness, because brightness isn't everything, the throw for this is about 100 yards, 112 yards, I believe. So you're still gonna be able to see an entire football field with this kind of brightness level with this little pocket. I mean, look at the size of this thing. It's so small, and you're gonna get 100 yards of up to 1400 lumens of brightness. Now, that's just one of the settings for the Arkfeld Ultra. All right, and then we flick this toggle over to the center, and that's gonna activate our 5 milliwatt laser mode. And it's got great throw, 490 feet. So you're not gonna have any trouble pointing out anything you're trying to bring people's attention to. And this is a simple mode. You simply press it once to activate the laser. Let's see if I can point it at something behind me so you can see. Obviously, it's gonna be brighter on white surfaces than on black surfaces as the black absorbs more light. And then you can actually also activate the flashlight and the laser at the same time if you're trying to illuminate a scene for people, but then you also wanna point things out. And to do that, you just double click the light button. And then you got both going. You got your laser and you've got your light. So pretty cool. And then you just press it once again to deactivate both. And then finally, by switching the toggle one more time over, that's gonna activate your UV. Now, I'm not going to shine this into the camera because it can actually damage camera parts to shine UV directly in, but you can see the UV light, the UV spotlight here on my hand. This thing generates a serious amount of heat. Like, getting close to it can actually burn your skin. And that's on the turbo mode for the light, as well as regular spotlight mode for UV. Now, the UV doesn't have varying brightness levels at all. It's just one UV spotlight. So these three features really allow you to tackle any kind of everyday lighting scenario or need you would have. But with all that light, we gotta talk about heat. And yes, this thing does get pretty hot. I mentioned that in turbo mode, just putting your hand too close to that lens can burn your skin and even the UV light as well. It is a tool. It is a powerful tool. So you're gonna have to be aware of that. And that's where I got really nervous, because the way this clips into a pocket, the button is facing your leg. It's not facing outward. And so I was very nervous about accidental button presses with this kind of heat, burning my leg or anything like that. And I'm so pleased to say that that did not happen once. And I tested it various times, putting it in my pocket and then hitting it or pressing or, putting something on my lap for a long period of time. And there were absolutely zero accidental button presses on this. There's no lock mode or anything, so that's what made me nervous. Like, am I gonna accidentally turn on my laser or my light? Even the laser could drain the battery, even though it's not very hot. And so I was a little worried about that, but I'm happy to report that has not happened with me. But using different modes like the UV or the turbo mode 1400 lumen flashlight can cause a lot of heat. And so if you're using it for a long time, you just want to test it with your hand. It's nothing crazy, but you just want to be aware of it before putting it in your pocket or giving it to a kid or something. I don't recommend giving a laser to a kid, but do what you will. Now, speaking of the heat on the body of the flashlight itself, you're going to get none of that really on the handle whatsoever. And I used it in extremely hot conditions. Like I said, I was in an attic. It was pitch black and it was 90 degrees outside. So it was probably even hotter, about maybe 95 to 100 degrees in the attic. And this did not overheat, even with the turbo mode on, because I needed the brightness. So in terms of a stress test, this thing passed with flying colors. Now, almost just as impressive as all the lighting features of the Arkfeld Ultra is what it's actually made of. This is a proprietary aluminum from Olight, and obviously they're proud of it as they made a coin that they give you with the Arkfeld Ultra made out of pure aluminum. And I gotta give you some specs on this because it's pretty impressive, if I do say so myself. It has a 1.77 times greater hardness than your average 6061 aluminum, which is like a standard aluminum for high quality, high-end flashlights. But that's not it. When it comes to actual yield strength, 1.46 times Ta2 titanium. This is aluminum, but it has yield strength that is 1.46 times Ta2 titanium, which is a type of titanium, again, used in kind of medical and industrial uses, certainly for high-end flashlights if it were ever used for something like that. Now, when it comes to actual tensile strength, why am I acting like I could pull this apart on my own? 1.7 times stronger than Ta2 titanium. And again, this is aluminum. Now, its wear resistance is incredible. I've already talked about that. And its corrosion resistance is very, very high, all while maintaining a similar weight to regular aluminum. So Olight has really gone above and beyond in terms of the construction material for this light. And that's why I did ask the question in the beginning of the video, is this the last EDC that you're gonna need? I mean, because of build quality alone, this thing might serve you for life. Now, all that great build quality obviously speaks to its durability, but another big part of durability is water resistance. Hey, if this is gonna be your everyday carry flashlight, you're probably gonna get it wet at some point. And thankfully, the Arkfeld Ultra is IPX7 water resistant. Now, what does that mean? You can submerge it up to 1 meter in water for up to 30 minutes. And I think for an everyday carry flashlight, that does above and beyond what you would expect to encounter. Now, that's a lot of praise for this flashlight, but it's not all perfect, and that's where we get into some things that I have a love-hate relationship with, starting with its proprietary charger. Now, we talked about its IPX7 water-resistant rating, and the way it's able to do that without having like rubber tacky plugs that would cover a USB-C port or anything, it actually uses a magnetic charger that clips onto the bottom like so and into USB. Now, you get one of these in the pack. I'm sure we can order replacements or things, but in a world of USB-C, kind of spoiled, but honestly, I don't mind. Since I'm charging this thing less than once a week, because I've only had it about a week as of the recording of this video, and I've been using it a lot, not only in testing, but also in just like turning it on to record video for the B-roll for this video, I still will not need to charge it anytime soon. And so yeah, if once every couple of weeks or 3 weeks I need to pop it there on the nightstand and let it charge overnight or whatever, okay, so be it. And if I have better durability and water resistance because of that, fine. But you know, it's a USB-C world, so I'm a bit spoiled. And you'll find that most of my issues with the Arkfeld Ultra are love-hate issues, like the charging. And second, the weight. Like I said, I love that this thing feels so high quality, the aluminum finish, the nice battery life. Batteries always require some weight, but overall, the issue comes in when I am using this on a hat as a hat clip light, which I've actually done. When I mentioned I was up in a huge building in the attic, and I have a sturdy hat, like a solid Dickies style hat with a thick brim, very sturdy. And clipping this on here, I could noticeably feel the weight. It was a little annoying, and sometimes I felt like if I moved my head down too quick, it might slip off. Now, that never actually happened, and I actually really risked it when looking down into a part of the building that if the light were to slip off, there would be no real getting it back at all. But it held up. The clip had enough tension on it so that it really, you know, held on to the hat, and I didn't have any issues with it slipping off whatsoever. But it is heavy when using it as a headlamp. And that actually brings us to the clip, which is actually a dual function clip. Not only does it clip the Arkfeld Ultra to your pants, but there's another loop that you can use for a hat, or even if you have a key, like a car key or something, you can slip that in the hook like that and then have your key and your flashlight very sturdily, sturdily? Is that a word? Sturdily, right on your pocket. So it's very nice. Another thing to be aware of, and I don't know if this will be an issue, but perhaps over time, is just getting gunk like on the metal connection parts. there's a rubber seal around the center one, and I actually have to take a cloth or a small instrument in order to clean out dirt or dust that gets there, because it can actually mess with the induction and mess with the magnetic charging. So I haven't had any issues with that yet, but it would be something to look out for. And then, as I mentioned earlier, the heat, right? So it gets a little hot. It hasn't really been an issue for me, but it could be an issue for you. And folks, I'm being as honest as I can be. That's it. Those are the only issues with this light. Unless you're looking for some kind of crazy 5,000, 8,000 lumen flashlight, which at that point you're talking more about a professional use case or a work light or something like that. This is going to satisfy all of your lighting needs, between its durability, between its battery life, between its functionality and features. You're not going to run into many scenarios that this can't handle, whether it's crushing weight and pressure, whether it's water, whether it's needing to point something out 400 feet away with a laser, or using UV light to check an area or inspect an area for chemicals or things like that. This has got it all. One quick thing, a challenge coin. What is a challenge coin? Well, this is typically like a military thing where, if they're trying to decide who's gonna split the bill at a bar, people will put down their challenge coin, and whoever doesn't have a coin to put down, they end up picking up the bill. It's also just fun for heads and tails, things like that. If you have a fidgeting issue and you just need to always fidget, is great for that too. And knowing that it's made out of that awesome Olight, aluminum, is pretty cool as well. Now, this flashlight does not come in cheap, but it is very competitive with other similar offerings. And again, this is a light that you may never have to replace for your everyday carrying needs. It comes in at $119, but right now on Amazon, it's actually on sale for their Prime Day stuff for only $95. And it comes in 2 flavors of light. You get your cool white, which is 5,700 to 6,700 Kelvin, and then you have your neutral white, which is 4,000 to 5,000 Kelvin. And then also you actually get 3 color options. You're not going to need anything other than this beautiful, what they call olive green, but there's also olive gray, which is very nice, and then your navy blue, which is my least favorite. But you get 3 color options as well. So guys, you gotta check this out. If you're in the market for an everyday carry flashlight that you're not going to really need to replace, you gotta check out the Arkfeld Ultra. So of course, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna leave a link down in the description for you where you can get a discount as well. Of course, I gotta shout out Olight for sending this over. It's awesome. And of course, you know what to do. Hit the like button, subscribe, and click the bell so you don't miss as we cover all things tech. I'm Chris Grant Jr. It's the Granny Geek Show.